Hey, Arjuna here for a LuZo review on Class, the latest spin-off of Doctor Who. Now, the last two spin-offs we got of Doctor Who were Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Adventures. Both of the shows unfortunately came to an end for very different reasons. Torchwood kind of lost some steam after a few different event series and whatnot, and the Sarah Jane Adventures came to an end because Elizabeth Sladen, who played Sarah Jane, unfortunately passed away. The BBC hadn't attempted a Doctor Who spin-off in quite a few years. It's an interesting mix here. It reminds me a lot of Torchwood in terms of its adult elements. It can be very graphic. In fact, in the first episode, one of the main characters loses his leg, and you see it come off. So a little bit graphic, lots of blood. But it also combines the element of high school kids. So you have this teenage angst and drama. So what I didn't like about the show was that teenage angst and drama that came with the show. It was very cheesy at times, very CW. You know, look at the shows like Arrow and all those Arrowverse shows. It reminded me a lot of that kind of drama that's a little unnecessary, very cheesy, very formulaic. It's not the greatest. It's not the best. What I did like about the show were really the sci-fi elements with the different monsters in the show and whatnot. It reminded me a lot of the, early 2000s Doctor Who, Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant type of monsters. Interesting monsters like the Weeping Angels. There was a cool monster within Class that was like a flesh-eating petal. There was another one with dragons that only existed within a tattoo that ended up eating people. There's definitely some interesting sci-fi elements that were, again, unfortunately bogged down by teenage angst and drama. Would I recommend anyone to watch this show? If you're a true Whovian, if you're a big Doctor Who fan, it's kind of fun to watch. The first episode features a pretty lengthy cameo by Peter Capaldi's Doctor. There's a pretty strong connection as it's Coal Hill Academy, which Doctor Who fans will recognize as a school that shows up a lot. Most notably, or most recently, Clara Oswald, the former companion of Peter Capaldi's Doctor, used to teach there. Nice connections, and they do utilize elements within Doctor Who. There's a Weeping Angel, actually, funny enough, that appears in the last episode, albeit briefly. It definitely doesn't feel detached from Doctor Who like sometimes Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Adventures did. At this time, we don't know if there will be a series 2 or not. The show did have a pretty serialized format with one kind of story going through with the Shadowkin, and there was a pretty interesting twist at the end with one of the main characters kind of being trapped within the body of these monsters, so it'd be interesting to see where they would go with that. One of the coolest episodes, they had actually 2 episodes run parallel to each other, so they had all the students kind of locked in this room in a little bubble universe pocket thing or whatever, but at the same time, they had an episode with the teacher of this group who is actually an alien, and she goes on this kind of weird, strange adventure that was really well done, was completely off of Earth, and just reminded me of like what I love about this Doctor Who-esque type of sci-fi, with that kind of adult element that you don't really get in Doctor Who, especially with the last few seasons. They kind of do, Stephen Moffat has done this weird mix of trying to be very family friendly, but at the same time, a little more moral questions that, you can have, I guess, a good conversation with the family. Did I get everything?
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you just saw, take a look at these other videos from this week's LuZoCast. You can find the full podcast on Facebook and iTunes. For more nerdy goodness, subscribe to LuZo on YouTube and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.